Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, the no contact rule. And we're going to look at why it's one of the most effective strategies out there and why so many experts recommend it. But first things first, before you even consider implementing a no contact rule on your ex, the first thing you should determine is whether or not you have a good shot of getting them back. Luckily for you, on my website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, I've put together a special free 2-minute quiz designed to basically answer this question for you to help you understand whether or not you're going to be wasting your chances on your ex or not. So all you have to do if you want to take this free, simple 2-minute quiz is simply look in the description link below the YouTube video and click on it. It's that simple. Okay. With that out of the way, let's get started and talk about what a no contact rule actually is and why it's one of the most effective strategies out there. What is a no contact rule? Well, simply put, it's a period of time where you ignore your ex on purpose with the intent of making them miss you while at the same time allowing yourself to reshape your life in whatever image you want it to be shaped in. Now, while I will say the standard no contact rule is usually okay for just about everyone out there are a few situations where it's kind of impossible to ignore your ex 100% of the time. Things like the limited no contact rule or the indefinite no contact rule are perfect for these situations. You know, the situation where you have a child with your ex, or you work together, or you go to school together, whatever the case is, there are some alterations that the no contact rule is allowed, but we're not going to be talking about those today because number one, I've already done videos on each of those situations, so go check those out if you haven't already. And number two, I just want to look at the basic no contact rule and why it is so effective. But how effective is it really? Well, take this on for size. As you know, I've been doing these really awesome one-on-one interviews with some of the success stories that have come through my program to get to the bottom of why their situation worked out. What is it that they were doing that's different than everyone else? And in every single one of those situations, 100% of the time, they used some form of a no contact rule. And if you want to get a little bit more complicated, in just about 95% of the overall success stories that we have had come through our private Facebook support group that you get access to whenever you purchase our program, they have used a no contact rule as well. Now, does the no contact rule alone guarantee success with your ex? No, it doesn't. There's a lot more to the process than simply ignoring them for a certain amount of time. But the foundation upon which success is built is often built through a no contact rule. And today we're going to look at why it is so effective. Let's start first with the time frame of a no contact rule. So if you didn't already know, we're a little bit unique in how we approach no contact rules. We've actually come up with 3 specific time frames for ignoring your ex. A 21-day no contact rule, a 30-day no contact rule, and a 45-day no contact rule. Now, I don't want to get into the specifics on which situation or which no contact time period is perfect for your situation because I've talked about it multiple times in multiple different articles and videos throughout the YouTube channel and even throughout my website. But what I do want to talk about is why we don't recommend longer periods of no contact. And that really boils down to a concept that I like to call the habit rule. So, what is the habit rule? Well, on average, it takes about 70 days to make or break a habit. But that can range anywhere from 18 days to 250 days when you look at each individual circumstance. Now, why is this important to understand? Well, it's important to understand because if your ex truly wants to get over you, the fastest on average they can get over you by is about 70 days. This is why we don't recommend anything close to a 60-day no contact rule or a 90-day no contact rule, because if your ex is really wanting to get over you, guess what? You're giving them a great opportunity to do so by not contacting them or responding to any of their reach out attempts in 90 days or 60 days, which is pretty close to that 70-day average. Thereby, they're not going to have the opportunity to get over you 100% of the time. And I personally believe that a lot of the success that we've had at ex-boyfriend recovery with the no contact rule has been built on this foundation of understanding of timing. Basically, we understand that usually if you stay and ignore your ex for a long period of time, guess what's going to happen? They're going to move on. Because whether you like it or not, timing does matter throughout the circumstances of your situation. Your ex isn't going to wait around to change their mind for you forever. There is a window of opportunity, and the no contact rule needs to be used in a way that understands this window of opportunity. So think of it like this. After your ex breaks up with you, or you break up with your ex and you decide that you want them back, you have about 70 days to get a conversation started with them. But the conversation needs to happen in a certain way. There needs to be a satisfying element to it. And we talk about that a lot on the channel, but what we don't talk about is everything that builds up to this conversation. And that's what happens during the no contact rule. That's what really makes it so effective. So what I'd like to talk to you about today are 3 psychological concepts that are built into the no contact rule that make it so effective on exes. Concept number 1, it taps into the theory of reactance. So I've talked about this a lot on my website and YouTube channel and podcast and other YouTube videos as well. But really the no contact rule is a perfect play on this theory of reactance. So what is reactance, or at least the theory of it? Well, essentially reactance is stating that if you ignore someone or take a behavioral freedom away from them, they're going to respond in a way to try to re-obtain that freedom. We see this all the time with small children. Let's say we give a child a cookie. They're really excited about this cookie. They love their cookie, and then all of a sudden you take it away. What are they going to do? They're going to try to get it back, right? Well, even though the analogy isn't perfect, your ex is that toddler with the cookie. And even though he threw the cookie down, you've taken the cookie away completely. Thereby, his opportunity to even eat the cookie in the future is gone, and it can drive him nuts. But what's interesting here is we've also learned that most men who go through breakups will not reach out to you during a no contact rule. But that doesn't mean it's not effective. It just means they are prideful and stubborn and are waiting for you to reach out first. Because really the theory of reactance can work. Now, is it the be all end all? Will your ex all of a sudden try to rush back to you? In most cases, no, but it's important to understand that this is built into the no contact rule and one of the many reasons that it can be so effective. Concept number 2, it allows you time to let go. Probably one of my favorite videos that I've ever done was done last week. I talked about why letting go may be the key to getting an ex back. It's not exactly the most revolutionary concept, but what we've been learning time in and time out in our success story interviews is that a lot of the people during no contact have this paradigm shift. They're using their time in a way that allows them to let go of the breakup, getting to a point where they're just like, you know what, I don't want him back anymore, or I don't want her back anymore, whatever situation you find yourself in. And getting to that point emotionally, truly feeling that you're willing to just lose him, gives you so much more power. You see, most women put men on pedestals, especially after a breakup. Pedestals that they don't deserve to be on, because guess what? Most of the people that work with me are getting broken up with. In other words, it's your ex saying, hey, I think I can do better than you. We know through reactance and playing hard to get that allows him to be on a pedestal to you because he's that one guy you can't get. You had him and he slipped through your fingers. But what we're finding is really in order to get him back, you need to play on an even playing field. And getting to this concept of letting go, of basically saying, I don't care if I get them back or not, gives you so much more power in how you move forward and how you talk to them and your overall mentality and your overall ungettableness. And overall, I really think it's telling. If you listen to each one of my success story interviews, you'll notice this distinct pattern. Not only are they using a no contact rule on their ex, but they're using that time so wisely that most of them say, you know what? I got to this point where I just didn't care if I got them back anymore. And that is the key to a successful no contact rule. A lot of times people just use a no contact rule expecting an ex to miss them. And sometimes it works, there's no doubt. We've all heard those super big success stories where all it takes is to ignore your ex and he comes running back. But most of the time, that's not what happens. Most of the time, you need to use your time with the no contact rule so wisely that you allow yourself to have this paradigm shift, this way of looking at the situation that's different after you come out of the end of it. Concept number 3, unpredictability raises your perceived value. Okay, this isn't the most elaborate explanation of this concept, but it's the best I can think of. You see, I believe in relationships, human beings need 2 things, and these 2 things are kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum, creating a paradox. On one hand, we want stability. We want someone that we can be with and just sort of sit down, Netflix and chill, and not have to worry about them running off and doing something crazy. On the other hand, if we get too much stability, we want a little bit of unpredictability, of mystery, of excitement, of adventure. And yet, most of the time, people who are extremely adventurous, exciting, outgoing, huge extroverts are often not the most stable individuals. Yet we need both in relationships. Now, what's really interesting is most of the people who we work with, we're finding are really good at the stable portion of relationships. Not everyone, but most of them are really good at being stable. In fact, they're so good at being stable, they grow complacent at being stable. They look at their entire relationship as, hey, guess what? All we need to do is just sort of sit at home and build our relationship from inside. We don't need to do anything. We don't need to go out and have an adventure in this new location. And yet, one of the very reasons that your ex broke up with you might be the fact that he feels he's pulled back all the layers and understands everything there is to know about you. He understands that really all he's going to get with you is Netflix and chill, or just sitting around at home and having a conversation, wine in front of a fireplace. It's stable. What he wants or craves is the unpredictability. And what's interesting is when you implement a no contact rule, you actually tap into this mystery, excitement, unpredictability aspect because it's the last thing he's expecting you to do. He's expecting you to want to remain friends after the breakup. He's expecting you to cry, beg, plead. Those are all really normal types of behaviors, but you're going to do something different. You're not going to say a word to him. You're going to ignore him. He's going to reach out to you and it's going to fall on deaf ears because guess what? You're not going to respond. All of a sudden he's like, what the heck is going on? You're being unpredictable. Now, what we do know about unpredictability is that our brains love it because the highs are higher than if we got the desired reward all of the time. It helps release dopamine and creates more investment. And the no contact rule has that built into it. By ignoring your ex, you are making sure that you're not acting in a predictable manner. This is a huge reason that we find that it's so effective on exes because guess what? There's no explanation for why you just up and ignored them. And then after the no contact rule, when you do get back in touch, he's like, well, what the heck was that? That unpredictability makes him pay attention more, and that's what it's all about. Whew. Thank you so much for getting to the end of this video. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you stop everything you're doing and take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz that I talked about at the beginning of this video. All you have to do is simply look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on it. It's that simple. Also, one last thing on a more serious note. Lately, we've been having a lot of spammers in the comments. Oftentimes, these people say that they are spellcasters and are promoting, I don't know, some weird spellcaster. And it's come to my attention recently that some of these people are actually responding to your comments trying to scam you. So what I'd like for you to do is make sure you do not fall for this prey. Make sure you are not the prey for this crime because it's really annoying. And I want you to understand that if we respond to you, if me or my team responds to you, it will be through the official YouTube channel. We are not affiliated with these spammer bots, whatever the heck they are, that are coming to the comments and in some cases taking over the conversation. If we respond to you, it will be through our means on our YouTube channel, not any other way. We will not reach out to you in any way through YouTube other than through our official YouTube channel. So I want to make sure everyone understands that's what's going on. Okay, if you haven't liked, commented, or subscribed, please do so. Every little bit helps. I'll see you next time.